and welcome to another segment of Inside Leominster, special edition of Leominster, Inside Leominster. And my name is Dean Mazzarella, Mayor for the city, and with me today is Bill Mitchell. He's the Chief Assessor for the city of Leominster. We're going to be talking about your tax bill. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Well, everybody got their
Happy
tax
Monday.
bill.
Yeah.
Happy Monday. Everybody got their tax bill. And now, you know, taxation, I said this from the first day I was elected, the first day I ran, taxation is not easily understood.
No,
it's
definitely not.
sort of confusing. And the first thing that confuses me is that we're on a calendar year, we're on a fiscal year, which begins in July and goes till the next end of the day in June of the following year, the last day. Yet our tax bills come out for 2018 in December of 17, which take effect. So when you get your tax bill, if you got your tax bill, say the first day of 2018, January 1st, you got that tax bill, even though they were sent out earlier. That tax bill is really reflective of going back to July 1st of 2017.
Correct.
So what you're getting in July 1st, the bill that you get in July 1st is an estimated bill.
That's right.
Because we don't know what the actual bill is going to be because, well, they haven't been computed yet.
That's right.
And they're based on a whole lot of things. But the fiscal year, in terms of the spending year, starts July 1st. But the bill that you're getting that's due July 1st is really a estimate.
That's right. It's literally last year's taxes cut in half. That's it. There's no special calculation.
So now we go through the whole formula of here's the pie, because now we know what the budget is, and we're going to divide up the pie, and we're going to divide it up in such a way that it's fair and equitable for everybody.
Right.
Now, in doing so, you're going to get your bill in December, which is, you know, for that fiscal year.
Right.
And that might have, so you might look at the bill and say, oh, my bill went up $1,000.
Right.
But in reality, some of it was because you didn't pay, we didn't know what that amount was in July.
That's right.
Right.
Right. So that's all the time we're looking at what do you pay a year in taxes.
Right.
So sometimes when people call us up, you're right. It's exactly that. They've either underpaid those first 2 quarters because they were guesstimates, and now you're making up for that little bit of underpayment plus the regular normal increase that we might have seen.
So for instance, my tax bill for one of my properties was assessed at $178,000. So let's just say $179,000, right? So in July, when I got that bill, that was for $178,000. But later in the process, the real value was determined in that span of between July and that bill that you get in December, and and the assessed value later was determined at $211,000.
Right.
So I got some making up to do.
Right.
Right. So in that bill that you get for December, which is good for you know, for that 2018 bill, some of that could be makeup bill.
That's right. And a lot of people, especially this year, we've seen it, you know.
Yes.
But the 2 families and 3 family homes, 22 and 24% increase in their valuations this year because of the market. Right. The market
let's explain that, because people will say, wait a minute, I'm not selling my house.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start from the beginning, because here's the budget, right? It's a pie. I wish we had a little pie to show. There's a pie. And then you divide up the pie. So once the amount is determined, so let's just say, for instance, the budget is $100 million.
Right.
We're going to divide up that pie into, you know, little slivers, right?
And it's important to say that's what the assessors do.
Exactly.
Right.
You're dividing.
So we're dividing. We're cutting up everybody's piece of pizza, basically, and we're handing it out.
And that could shift around, because my piece of pizza here, or pie, went up. Somebody else's went down. But I think people think that we're taking in money. So if my value went up from 178 or 190 to 211, they think that difference, that extra money that's coming into the city is coming to us. So they think, oh, everybody I talked to, their tax bill went up, so the city must be sitting on all of this money.
Right.
In reality, the pie is still the same. It's just chopped up differently. So I'm paying more, but somebody else is paying less.
That's right. Yeah, it's and that's why that classification hearing is so important, because when we go through that, we actually show what are we actually raising this year in tax dollars.
And very few people showed up to the tax classification.
Never do. You know, it's never do. But at least we televise it. They can
and they're
see
on TV.
Yep.
Right. But then they get the bill, and then it's like, wait a minute. So you go to a coffee shop and you talk to 5 of your friends, and like, your bill went up, my bill went up, his bill went up. What's the city doing with all this money? money. We don't, and I think what's important is to explain is, we don't take any more money in.
No, we don't.
As a result.
All you're doing is shifting the burden from one
The
class
budget's
of
still the
properties
same.
to another. Yes.
There isn't, so if I pay an extra $1,000 in taxes this year, that doesn't mean the city took in another $1,000 that it can spend.
That's
it
right.
It means that 1,000 went down somewhere.
Right.
Somebody else paid less. At the end of the day, if it's $100 million, it's $100 million.
Right.
And you can slice it up 1,000 different ways. At the end of the day, it's still $100 million.
That's right.
So the city didn't take in any money. I want to establish that. That's
That's
over and
exactly
over
it.
and over
We
and
raised,
over.
what, 2.5% over what we did last year.
Right.
That's
The
what we're
only
up-
thing
it's
that
always-
goes up is the 2.5% part. So
Right.
everybody gets an increase in their taxes, like every other town or city goes
Right.
up on the Prop 2.5%.
Right.
Everything else is attributed to your value.
Right.
So I know people like to, some people like to play games with, sharing this information with the public, making it look like, again, we're taking all this money. So what they'll say is, my tax bill went up 100%.
Right.
In the last 10 years, it went up 100%. It couldn't go under Prop 2.5. It can't go up more than 2.5%. Your value can go
Your
up.
valuation can do whatever, and your piece of the pie could go
your
up.
home is worth more.
Right.
But people will say, right now, I know if I put my two-family up for sale right now, it's really 3 small apartments. But I know if I put it up for sale right now, it would sell.
Yeah.
And
You're
it
gonna
would
do really
probably
well with it.
sell for, it's probably going to sell for more than it was worth for the last 10 years, right? So
Right.
if I'm on the selling side, it's a good thing because I'm
Right.
like, that's a good thing. So, I'm happy on that end. But if I'm retired and I'm on a fixed income and maybe I get a rental, I have a two-family, and that rental, I've been trying to keep the rents low because the people that are living there, they're
Right.
working class people. They're not happy because obviously they're not selling their house.
Well, that's it. And there's a lot of people that are owner-occupied. So they
Right.
live there, and then maybe they're not
Right,
getting
that's what I
income
meant.
because their family also lives there as well. So they're feeling the full burden of it because they're not collecting rents.
Right. And that's the tough part is somebody says, well, I'm glad my house is worth $250 or
Right.
$300.
Yeah.
But the problem is I'm not selling it. Or I love my ranch. I'm glad I built a ranch. There are no stairs. But boy, ranches keep going up every year in value.
Ranches they're very, very popular. I think we're seeing that whole that generation where they want smaller space. They're not buying the huge, large colonial anymore. Even
it drives the price up.
Condominiums
Even
going
those
like
are going
crazy.
up in value.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is that the other sort of interesting is I was looking at some of the real estate closings. So
Right.
if you have $400,000 or $500,000 in Leominster, you can live in. It's amazing what
do
you can
pretty good,
get.
yeah.
You can do pretty well. It's the problem is there aren't a lot of people that can afford that.
Right.
But there are a lot of people that are in the buyer's market for those homes that are between 180 and 250, 300.
Right.
So what happens is because of that, there's little supply
Right.
and big demand.
Yep.
And so people are actually paying more for the property sometimes than they're listed.
That's what we're seeing the effect of. Is that price range. You can come to Leominster, you can get something for $210, $211 or more, and be in a pretty nice place, as compared to going east,
And if I'm renting, and I look and I say, geez, my rents are, they're up there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll buy a house. I can go to the bank and show them what I make and show them what I'm paying in rent. And I'm going to buy a two-family. And I'll rent the other apartment to, maybe a relative. Maybe we go in with my mother and father. And,
Right.
and they're selling their house, so we're going to buy a house. So
Right, it's a good
now,
opportunity.
so there's more demand for these kinds of properties. Low supply, right? There aren't
Almost
many
no
for sale.
supply, really.
So
Yeah.
that drives the cost up.
Oh, it's crazy.
But at the end of the day, it's still the person that says, I got a two-family. It was, assessed last year at 170. Now it's assessed at 250. Now I got to pay the difference, but I'm not selling my house.
Right.
That's the tough part.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, everybody, if I go to sell my house, I hope I get 300.
Right.
But I'm hoping my tax value comes in at 2,
Yep.
right? So while I'm paying my taxes, it's at 2.
And given that, we're usually slightly just below the market unless we see a downturn. Then we'll be a little bit behind.
Let's talk, just sort of printed this off this morning. We
Right.
looked at the other communities around us. And if you look at other communities around us.
And we hear this all the time. We
Right.
hear how much we're paying in taxes. You guys are killing me.
Right,
and,
right.
I hear it every day. And
Well, because everyone around us, right? And that's what I
Right.
say. If you go on social media, there are people there that distort the information, just like they do if they're sitting at you know, with a bunch of friends at an event, they'll take information that somebody told them and say, we're paying the highest taxes anywhere.
Right.
Nobody's paying more taxes.
The problem is you do have to do your research. You just go online, take a look at the Department of Local Services, the DOR website. It's all right there. We're pretty transparent even on our site. So.
And we have a single tax rate. Worcester and Fitchburg do not. Their tax bills are a little bit less than ours.
Right. Simply because of that.
Right. But Leominster's tax bill, if you go to Lancaster or Lunenburg or Princeton or Sterling or pretty much Harvard or pretty much anywhere around us, their tax bills are, average tax bills are obviously high. Now, if you get into some of the towns, you don't get the services.
That's right. Yep. That's right. You don't get the services. You know, people have to remember that. You know, your taxes are really going to the services that you are paying for. Right. So police, fire, your education system, your Department of Public Works, trash removal, all of those things are going right to your local community. So you're seeing, and the only way to take that tax bill and bring it down is by cutting those services. Right. Because the city does have to operate at a certain budget. So
now let's get to the point where we sort of talked about, you know, the pie.
Right.
And again, I think the most important thing is the city is not taking in any additional, not one extra cent of revaluation, not one penny. So it could be 10 of your friends that are all paying more in taxes. And if they're paying $500 a piece, that doesn't mean we're taking in $5,000 more. Right. It means that that pie has been shifted. Somewhere along the line, somebody's paying less. I've yet to have anybody call my office and say, my tax bill went down. Or anybody will say, it stayed the same, right?
Right.
But it did. Somebody's went down, somebody stayed the same,
some will.
And some went up. But the city didn't take in any additional revenue as a result of reevaluation.
That's right.
All it did is sort of shifted it around. It chopped up the pie and shifted that around.
That's right.
Secondly, I think what's important is understanding that some of the bill might be an estimated bill back to July. Right. Look at your actual bill from 2017 and compare your actual bill from 2018. Right. So again, so much bad information comes out, and I saw it all weekend through the social media. People that know better, they're just trying to fuel the fire, saying the city's got all this money, it should be giving it to the schools, it should be doing this, it should lower our taxes. You know, we got all this money, and yet we didn't take in an extra penny as a result.
No, it's definitely a misconception, because we certainly get the calls, and I guess, you know, same thing. You guys are killing me. My taxes went up by $1,000. And then when you look at it, and then we invite the person in, we come over, we look at it, and that's exactly what happens. No, your taxes only went up $400, but now you're making up for the underpayment plus the actual increase. So
of 2.5.
Right.
So now it's $1,000.
Right.
And again, I wish values could, you know, I wish people's bills would go down no matter what happens, because that's a good thing, right? When you're able to do that.
Well, let's talk about valuations for a second. You know, we're not perfect in the assessors office. We have 14,800 properties to revalue every single year. We're not going to get them all perfect. There are some anomalies there. So I always suggest that people go on our website. You go on to the GIS mapping website.
Or come to City Hall.
Or come to City Hall, absolutely. Or go to the library. The books are there in the library with your valuations. But I say to go on to the GIS website if you can, because every record of every parcel in town has this record card. So when you go on to the site, you can do it by address, ownership, whatever you want to do, and you click the little link that says property record card. Bring that up, you'll see all of your information that we have in the office to value your property. And so if there are anything in there that we have wrong, certainly call us, tell us.
We missed a room. I don't have that garage anymore.
Right, or I don't have 2.5 bathrooms, I only have one, you know? So there's a lot of data collection that we do every year. If you see something wrong, go on there, verify it, certainly call us up, and we'll get right out there and inspect it for you, verify the information, and it may lower your tax bill. Now, you have until February 1st to do that.
Well, let's talk about that, because if you're watching this show, my name's Dean Mazzarella, Mayor for the city, and Bill Mitchell is the Chief Assessor for the city. We're talking about your tax bill that you just got. Right. You probably got it in December, and it's going to be due February 1st. Is a Thursday? Yeah, probably a Thursday, right? Yep. So it's important now. You have 30 days to file for an abatement. Right. And if you feel if you feel your house is not worth that, right, that it's not valued properly, then by all means, go to City Hall, and they'll go to the assessor's office, and they'll explain how to fill out an abatement form. And again, sometimes you may go out and say, you know what, we agree with you. We're you know, our error.
Absolutely.
We didn't see that, you're right. Or they may show you their neighbor's house. I got a house, everybody on that street has the same size house or whatever, similar size house. You get up into Birchcroft, places like that.
Right.
A lot of people have the same similar size lot. Similar house was built by a developer. He had 3 different models, a Caper Ranch and a split.
That's
and it's
right.
like, my split is the same split as theirs. And
Right.
theirs is, they're paying a lot less than theirs, right?
Yeah, and technically what we'll see there is where someone got the street wrong. Like everybody else is in either an average condition, but for some reason yours is in good.
Yeah.
You know, and so maybe there was a data collector that was out there 7 years ago, and that one got missed, and so just by bringing it down, that just puts you right in line with everybody else. So
Right.
there's a lot of things we look at when we're taking inspecting property. So certainly you got to take a look at those things.
And I mean, I'm happy, believe me. I mean, obviously more happy or happier if I was selling my house.
Yes.
But I'm happy to see that the values are coming up because one doesn't know, you know, in terms of our sales are based on, our data is based on last year's sales.
That's right,
So we watch
2016 sales.
what's going on in 2016.
Yep.
And we'll watch what's happening with, you know, with those properties. And then that's how we basically determine what an assessed value is we're
That's
actually
right.
a year behind,
Yep.
in theory.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy that values, I mean, I'm happy to look at my property tax bill and say, it's gone up. I mean, I like that. I don't like what my taxes, like anybody
Right.
else, nobody likes to see their bill go up.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm happy I live in a community where there's such demand right now. And hopefully that demand will keep up. But at one point, we were on the other end where values were dropping.
Right.
And people were not paying, were buying condos, for instance. The values were down through the floor.
Right.
And it was difficult for people to sell them. And they're underwater in a lot of cases for people in terms of their value. In other words, if they ever wanted to sell, or they were in a position where they couldn't sell their property because they were going to take a bath, basically lose substantially.
Right.
By you know, the fact that, you know, somebody, they bought it for $250, a 2-family. It was only worth $150. They're
Right.
going to lose $100,000. So at least those people that are in that position, if they wanted to sell now, it's a better buyer's market and the property's worth more.
That's right. It's really about your market value of your property. That's how, you know, they determined that was fair taxation, was the value of everybody's property. Everybody, you know, if someone owns $1 million home, then they can obviously afford more taxes than someone who owns a $100,000 home. That's just
Right.
state law. That's the way it is.
Fair and equitable,
Yep,
right? I mean,
exactly.
that's really what it's based
so
on.
we want to get it right, too. That's important. You know, we're not out there, we're not going to come out, well, what if I have the assessor come out and inspect and my tax is going to raise? Let's say, for instance, we do go out there and we determine that your taxes, your house is actually better. You know, you thought it wasn't this way, but it is actually better. That's not going to affect you until 2019 taxes. Because we can't go back, we can't collect taxes that we've already assessed, you know, just like they can't go back more than last year and get an abatement.
Right.
So it works both ways, but certainly if there was something like that, it's very few and far between that we've seen like that. In most cases, it actually does work out for the taxpayer. Either there is no abatement granted because we determined the market value is true and correct,
Right.
or there was something we missed and,
Right.
and the
And you
taxes
fix
go
it.
down slightly. Right. Yep.
And that's to be taken into consideration of. Bill Mitchell's my guest, that we're trying to help people to understand their tax bill. We'll give you opportunities during the course of the month before February 1st to sort of explain where they can come into either the library and meet with the assessors, and we'll go through all the information. By the way, if you can't make it to the City Hall closes at 4 and then at 5:30 on Thursday nights, or you don't have access to a computer, all of this information, everybody's tax bill is available at the library.
That's
So
right.
and they're open at night. They're open Saturdays and Sundays. So that's another opportunity to get more information. But everything that we're speaking to is available. People's lot size, zoning, everything is available by going online to leominster-ma.gov and go to the assessors
Right.
page. And from there, we'll bring you more information if you want to compare your house to mine to anybody's,
Right.
and see what I'm paying in tax. That's what all this information is.
And when
is
we
all
do
about.
provide those exemptions to elderly and disabled
Let's
veterans.
talk about that in the last couple of
That's
seconds
important,
here left.
yeah.
Is there are a lot of people who qualify, residents of the city, elderly and veterans, that qualify for abatements, but don't realize it.
Don't realize it. Yeah, I had a woman call me last week, and her husband had passed away, and someone must have said something about the widow's exemption. And she called me up, and I said, yeah, absolutely, you might qualify. There are some income and asset requirements that you have to meet. And speaking with the lady, she told me she collected Social Security, and that was her only income.
Right.
And her assets were her home, and her husband passed away recently. and she didn't know how she was going to pay her taxes. I said, absolutely, you should come in and apply. And I talked to her on the phone and found out she was 87 years old. She probably could have been getting this exemption for the last 12 years.
When did her husband pass away?
Just in September.
Right. But
So
she could have been getting this exemption
her
back.
and her husband probably could have been getting an exemption.
But
So
they
it's
didn't
like
know
up to
about
like $750 off their taxes. So we really try to reach out to the elderly community. They're having a tough time, you know, with the heating and the food, you know, grocery shopping is terrible today. You're going out spending double what you did 5 years ago. So we try to reach out to them. It's important that they know.
Everyone in their homes as long as we possibly can. As long as they can. We know people stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, we can keep them healthy. They want to remain in their homes as long as they can.
And I don't know if it's in the water in Leominster, but people seem to live longer here.
They sure do.
It's
an amazing thing.
It's crazy.
That's why I said in the inauguration that people are in their 80s and 90s. They're not elderly.
No.
They're active seniors.
They're out there.
They got seniority.
Yes.
And they're active.
Yeah.
You know, they're up at the Orchard Hill swimming in the morning or at the gym. Or, you know, at all the different gyms around here. And I'm just amazed. I mean, this is an active community, which is why we got to work hard to keep them in those homes so they can afford it. Why we have to work hard to make sure we have safe, you know, parks and good senior centers and sidewalks for people to walk and mobility, and provide the services within walking distance for a lot of people. You know, the library, we didn't realize, we built the library, in the process, we didn't realize how many people. We had to close the library and move it temporarily until such time as we could rebuild it and build a new one. And we didn't realize how many people, we ended up running a bus service from downtown.
Is that right?
Because so many people lived within a quarter of a mile, half a mile, where they'd walk to the library every day.
Yeah.
And that was, it was such an eye-opening experience for us. We're like, we couldn't believe how many people had moved, or their children relocated them from their hometown closer to the center of town where they could get to public transportation and the library. It's sort of an interesting thing. So we ended up running like this bus shuttle service back and forth, and that's a good thing. So anyway, if you have any questions, Bill, you want to give your phone information, your email address?
Sure. It's wmitchell@leominster-ma.gov, or you can call my office at 978-534-7531. Ask for myself. If you want to speak to one of the assessors, we have 2 clerical staff out front, Linda and Marilyn. They're always happy to help. But if you want to speak to an assessor about your valuation or an abatement application, you can ask for me or my 2 assistants, which is Rick Dondero and Bill Connor. So we'd be more than happy to help you, more than come out and take a look at things for you. And we're always trying to get it right for you.
So let's recap. 2018 tax bills came out in December. They're due February 1st. If you want to file for an abatement, you have until February 1st to do so. There's only 30 days to do so. So get your information in place, do your checking and your research, come to City Hall and ask for questions. You'll be available at the library. You're going to set up a couple dates for that?
Actually, yes. I'm going to do a class this year. If anybody's interested, I know realtors always have a lot of questions, appraisers sometimes do, and even taxpayers or the council has asked me in the past, how do you value properties? I'm actually going to be doing a class this year. It might be like an hour-long class. I'm going to actually walk you through the valuation process of the city of Leominster in an interim year. So
when is that going to be? Did you pick a date for that?
We have not. I got to talk to the library, see when they're open.
Will it be before February 2nd, or will it be after that?
I think we could do it before February 2nd.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then just to recap, it's a pie. The budget is a pie. Once we set that budget, once we set that budget, it's just a matter of dividing it up. So in terms of reevaluation, anything above the 2.5% that the city raises above 2.5% under Prop 2.5 is really a matter of reevaluation. And your tax bill goes up, but if mine went up, and say mine went up $60 a quarter, $100 a quarter, that's $400 a year. The city isn't taking any more money. I don't have in my budget, you know, $400 a year extra to spend on anything.
That's right.
It's just a matter of it went somewhere else. Somebody else's went down or stayed the same, whatever it might be.
That's right. Yep, just shifting the burden, or you got a little bit of a bigger piece of the pizza this year, and someone else got a little smaller one because of the valuation differences. So.
Well, thank you. That's very helpful. I hope this is helpful to you. If not, you can reach either one of us at City Hall, 978-534-7500. Thank you to Alan and Carl for coming in to help us put this segment together. We appreciate it. You were watching how your tax bill is set and tax bills in general inside Leominster. Thank you.